welcome to the program. Today's question is about half of all businesses that go under contract or receive a letter of intent do not close. The buyer walks away. Why is that? My name's Jim Beno. I'm a seasoned business broker, also known as an M&A advisor. I want to remind you, I am not giving you legal advice. I do not give tax advice. So let's jump into that question. About half of businesses that go under contract will not close. Why is this? Well, I'm going to break those reasons into two separate parts. There's things that are in the seller's control, or the owner's control, and things that are out of the seller's control. So let's talk about things out of the seller's control first. There are things that happen. For instance, a global issue. We had a worldwide pandemic a few years ago. That crushed the M&A industry. I had two deals that were supposed to close that April. One of the buyers completely walked away, went dark, and never came back. Another buyer we had under another business we had under contract. We did get it to the close, but I think that ended up closing like at the end of August. It was definitely delayed because of the pandemic. Maybe there's a state or federal regulation change or government change. Keep in mind, every 4 years there's a presidential election, and I'm not going to get political, but regardless if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican, one party favors certain businesses, another party favors other businesses. That can impact the closing, depending on what the industry you're in. Maybe the buyer couldn't get financing and the financing fell through. That does happen. Maybe a buyer's expectations are unrealistic. Maybe they agreed on a price and they just thought that, everything that they're paying, they were going to get the owner to work for free for 3 years or just something ludicrous. So the buyer's expectations can be unrealistic. Maybe the buyer's attorney is causing those expectations to be unrealistic. So those are all things that are out of seller's control that can cause a buyer to walk away. Maybe the buyer just gets cold feet. That can happen as well, and they don't close the business. So items that a seller can control that sometimes can make a deal go south. And I've talked about this in several of the videos, is how good are your records? When you get into go under contract and get into due diligence, you're going to be given pages of due diligence requests, of document requests. You've got to be able to gather that information and supply it to the buyer. You're going to have to back up all the numbers, the financial numbers that you claimed in the marketing booklet. So you're going to have good records, or there's a good chance the business isn't going to close. Do you have operating procedure manuals and how-to manuals, or is it all knowledge in the owner's head? That can make a difference. How's your customer concentrations? Normally, all this stuff should be flushed out before a letter of intent is agreed on. But if the buyer doesn't know anything about the customer concentrations, and then they find out that your top 5 customers are 75% of your business, they may get cold feet and walk real quick. Like I said, normally that type of should be disclosed before you even get into an agreed upon offer. Disagreement in the purchase contract themselves. The buyer and the seller are going to have separate attorneys. The buyer and what's good for the buyer is not good for the seller. And so a lot of times the attorneys can take two reasonable parties and make them unreasonable. And they can be arguing back and forth on what should be included in the purchase contract. The reps and warranty section is a big item that gets argued. And there will be some tension on when negotiating the purchase contract between the buyer and seller. A good broker can help ease that tension, but that can cause the deal to go south as well. How much of the business is really dependent upon the owner? If the owner has all the touches with the clients and with the suppliers and vendors, that can cause the deal to go south. Now, once again, that should be an item that is fully explained before any offer is on the table. Do you have key management in place? So once again, that should be discussed before the offer's on the table. Do all your employees have social security numbers, and are their taxes withheld? Sometimes that's not. Do you have I-9 files on all your employees? Maybe the seller's not operating to IRS guidelines. Let me give you an example. Let's say it's a service business and your employees, go to different houses each day, and you tell them where they're going to be for the next week. and they go directly from their house to the client's house, and they do the service work. And maybe the seller has them as 1099 contractors instead of employees, so they can avoid the self-employment tax of 7.65. They can avoid unemployment taxes. They can avoid workman's comp insurance on those employees because they're technically not employees. Well, unfortunately, the IRS would view them as employees, and so if you don't have your employees classified wrong or not to IRS guidelines, that is certainly probably going to blow a deal up. Does the buyer and seller like each other and trust each other? You know, the buyer and seller are going to have to work together for after the sale during the transition time. So if animosity builds and the buyer can't stand the seller, there's a good chance that may cause them to walk away. Um, you know, maybe there's pending litigation out there. Also, there's always issues. There's not a perfect business out there. You know, there's always issues. Maybe it's customer concentrations, or maybe it's employee issues or whatnot. My advice to the seller is disclose everything early on, because the buyers are going to find out anyways, and legally you're going to have to disclose a lot of those issues. So if something's going to make a buyer walk, you want them walking early in the process, not when you're under contract and both parties are spending thousands of dollars. And the other thing that does too is if you don't disclose certain things and the buyer finds out to do their own due diligence, they're going to start losing trust in you as well too. So if there's any skeletons in the closet, get them out and get them out early. Sometimes the seller's expectations are unrealistic, especially if they're not working with a broker. One of the first things I try to do is make sure the sellers understand what a reasonable selling price would be and what's included in that selling price. So maybe the seller's expectations are unrealistic. Lack of seller preparation, or unable to get, or very slow to gather all the due diligence requests. Like I said, there's going to be pages and pages of documents you're going to have to get that deal closed. And the bank, the lender is going to need to see those documents as well. Time kills all deals. If it takes you 3 months to gather, just to start gathering the information, that deal is probably going to go south. So those are some things. Hopefully, will give you an idea as far as why 50% of deals that go under contract roughly do not close. That's it for today. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to have other educational videos that if you're looking to buy or sell a business, you'll find very helpful. As a reminder, I don't give legal advice or tax advice on these videos. If you want to contact me directly, you can reach me at Jim Beno at businessbrokerexpertsinc.com. That's JIMBENO at businessbrokerexpertsinc.com. Thanks for staying to the end. I have a little reward for you. I have a couple bonuses for you. Just click on the link below and find out how to get your 2 free bonus reports. Just click on the link below and get your 2 free bonus reports. Thank you.